In the early years of World War II, Europe collapsed under the advancing armies of Nazi Germany. Poland fell in weeks. France surrendered in 1940. Belgium, the Netherlands, Norway, Denmark, one by one, nations disappeared under occupation. Britain stood alone in the West, battered by the Blitz yet unbroken. And from this island, the foundations of liberation began to form. For years, Allied leaders debated when and where to return to Europe. An invasion across the English Channel would be the most direct path, but also the most dangerous. German forces constructed the Atlantic Wall, nearly 4,800 kilometers of bunkers, artillery positions, anti-tank traps, and machine gun nests. Hitler believed it was impenetrable. Yet in hidden rooms across Britain, a plan slowly took shape. It was codenamed Operation Overlord, and its goal was simple: return to Europe and end the war. The scale of preparation was unprecedented. Engineers built landing craft, floating harbors, and thousands of new vehicles. Intelligence units analyzed captured German maps, decoded secret messages, and tracked enemy units across France. A massive deception operation called Operation Bodyguard convinced Germany that the invasion would come at Calais, not Normandy. Inflatable tanks, fake radio signals, and fabricated divisions misled German commanders and bought the Allies precious time. Meanwhile, millions of soldiers crossed the Atlantic and entered Britain. Americans, British, Canadians, Poles, Czechs, Free French, and troops from across the Commonwealth trained side by side. They practiced landing assaults in freezing British waters, storming mock beaches under live fire. Airborne divisions trained to jump at night, carrying equipment nearly as heavy as their own bodies. The scale of coordination between nations had never been seen before. Yet the cost of preparation was not without tragedy. Training accidents, like the disaster at Slapton Sands, claimed hundreds of lives. But commanders pushed forward, knowing the stakes were nothing less than the freedom of Europe. By late May 1944, the invasion force, over 150,000 soldiers and more than 5,000 ships, was ready. The attack was set for June 5th, but nature intervened. Violent storms whipped across the channel. Waves rose dangerously high. Aircraft could not navigate. Landing craft risked capsizing. A delay seemed certain. Then came a single glimmer of hope. A young meteorologist predicted a brief break in the storm on June 6th. Eisenhower listened carefully. If he postponed again, the invasion might be delayed for weeks, giving Germany time to reinforce Normandy. Finally, after hours of tense debate, Eisenhower made the decision that would change the world. His words were brief, but historic. Okay, we go. On the night of June 5th, Allied camps across Britain came alive. Paratroopers boarded their aircraft. Soldiers walked onto transport ships in silence. Engines roared across the coastline. Civilians looked to the sky as hundreds of planes passed overhead. The invasion, the largest amphibious assault in human history, had begun. Ahead of the men lay darkness, uncertainty, and danger. Behind them lay everything they loved and hoped to return to. The world was moving toward the dawn of June 6, 1944, the day that would be known forever as D-Day. Just after midnight on June 6th, the first phase of D-Day unfolded. Nearly 13,000 American paratroopers of the 82nd and 101st Airborne Divisions jumped into Normandy. British and Canadian airborne units landed to the east, securing bridges and key roadways. Many aircraft flew through heavy anti-aircraft fire. Strong winds scattered paratroopers miles from their drop zones. Some became isolated. Others landed directly among German defenses. Yet their mission, to disrupt the enemy and secure vital positions, was achieved. At sea, the Allied armada crossed the Channel. More than 5,000 ships formed a vast line of steel. Destroyers escorted transport ships. Battleships prepared to bombard the coastline. And in cramped landing craft, soldiers waited, cold, wet, and silent. Many were seasick. Others prayed. All understood the weight of what was about to happen. At 6:30 a.m., the first landing waves reached the beaches. At Omaha Beach, strong currents pushed American troops nearly 2 kilometers south of their intended landing zone. But fate was on their side. The area was lightly defended. Brigadier General Theodore Roosevelt Jr., limping with a cane, famously said, "We'll start the war from right here." Utah became the most successful landing of the day. At Gold, Juno, and Sword, British and Canadian forces met fierce resistance, but advanced steadily, capturing towns and pushing inland. Their progress helped secure the eastern flank of the invasion. But the story of D-Day cannot be told without Omaha Beach. At Omaha, the first waves were met with devastating fire. German positions, placed high on cliffs, had perfect lines of sight. Machine guns tore through soldiers as soon as the landing craft ramps dropped. Mortars exploded across the sand. Bodies drifted in the waves. Entire units were cut down within minutes. Communications collapsed. Radios were destroyed. Officers were killed. The plan unraveled. And for a moment, the invasion hung by a thread. But in the chaos, extraordinary courage emerged. Small groups crawled across the sand, using dead zones and smoke for cover. Engineers blew gaps in barbed wire. Snipers eliminated German machine gun nests. Soldiers climbed the steep cliffs under fire. Slowly, painfully, the tide turned. By early afternoon, American forces had broken through the German defenses. Omaha Beach was secured at a terrible cost, over 2,000 casualties, the bloodiest beach of D-Day. By nightfall, all 5 Allied landing zones were under control. D-Day had succeeded. Securing the beaches was only the beginning. Beyond the coastline lay Normandy's hedgerows, thick earthen walls created over centuries. Each hedgerow formed a natural fortress. German units, especially the elite panzer divisions, used them with deadly effectiveness. Every field became a battlefield, every road a death trap. Allied infantry fought brutally from hedgerow to hedgerow. Tanks struggled to advance. Commanders quickly adapted, attaching metal blades, called rhino modifications, to the front of Sherman tanks, allowing them to burst through the thick walls. Innovation became survival. To the east, British and Canadian forces engaged in a bitter struggle for the city of Caen, a key objective on D-Day that became a month-long battle. German SS panzer divisions defended it fiercely, and the fighting devastated the region. To the west, American paratroopers defended towns like Sainte-Marie-Glisse, one of the first French towns liberated on D-Day. They held their positions against repeated counterattacks, ensuring the beaches remained linked and secure. Civilians suffered deeply. Homes were destroyed. Entire villages caught fire. Families hid in cellars while gunfire echoed above. Yet many still aided the Allies, serving as guides, relaying information, or sabotaging German communications through the French resistance. In late July, the Allies launched Operation Cobra, a massive offensive that finally shattered the German defensive lines. Tanks and infantry poured through the breach. German forces, overwhelmed and unable to regroup, retreated toward Paris. On August 25, 1944, Paris was liberated. The march to end the war had begun. But everything started at Normandy, on the beaches, in the hedgerows, in the early morning mist of June 6th. D-Day was not simply a battle. It was a turning point for humanity. It proved that tyranny could be challenged, that nations could unite for a common purpose, and that ordinary men could do extraordinary things. Today, the beaches of Normandy are quiet. The waves wash over the sand where thousands once fought and fell. Cemeteries overlook the sea, rows of white crosses and stars of David standing as solemn reminders of sacrifice. Their courage shaped the world we live in. Their legacy endures. This was D-Day.